So hello everyone, my name is Laura Fólica and I am a postdoctoral student in humanities. I'm working at Global Literary Study Groups, Globals, and also in a UOC project, Mac Modern. And today I will present a part of this project of the UOC it's about translation and market. No? And so as you see in the name of our project, we are not at all expert in health or medical science. Sorry about that. But however, we are participating in this session about healthy life because we are convinced that literature is also part, maybe it's the best, we can say food for thought, and as the saying goes, and thoughts, proper thoughts, is also part of our well-being. So let's start. I would like to show this image, this first image, and what do you see here? Maybe, it's a kind of rhetorical question, no? Maybe you think it's a new planet, no? Why not? Or it could be a new photo, a new image of our own world, no? From a new perspective, but not, unfortunately, we have not discovered these kind of things in our group, even if the name is Global. So maybe, second choice, we can think this is a face, a human face, a portrait, a really curious one for sure. But if you see there's kind of two eyes, well, here it's not really, I don't know, maybe, no, here, no, two eyes, the mouth, no, something like that. But no, it's not a human face. Well, again, the image, and how do you feel if I say this image represents this, the National Library of Spain? Well, this is the correct answer, not a planet or a human face, but the National Library of Spain. And it represents the whole catalog of this library. So I can show you another example in order to explain the previous one. And if you see this, of course, you said the Quixote. No? Even if you see this, you can quickly evoke the Quixote. But if you see this, no, it is true. But here, if we zoom in on the green area, we can discover the Don Quixote constellation. It means all the network around the Quixote, translators, authors, publishers, and so on. So these two examples are graphical representation of our research. Our purpose is to study the circulation of books and translated literature in Spain and Latin America in the first half of the 20th century through big data and machine learning tools, as you see. We have to say that we are working with a really pioneering methodology in the fields of translation studies, where more qualitative and small-scale approaches are usually applied. So it's really different for us working with big data. Here you have another example of the potentiality of this big data visualization, and this is a map of translated authors in 3 magazines, La Revista from Catalonia, Proa and Sur from Argentina. And we work here to build this map we enter the metadata of these 3 journals. As preliminary results shows, today we can see at large scale the diversity, if you see the different colors, French, English, the diversity of authors, of languages in the Hispanic area. And of course, French is the most common one in this period, it's in violet. And also, I think really interesting, we can highlight that Spanish translations were the first to be published in some significant cases. For instance, Kafka, Joyce, Freud were translated before into Spanish and then in French, but they appear in Proa, for instance, in our Argentinian magazine. To explain better that I said before, our general purpose is to display a big-scale analysis of all literary translation from and into Spanish between 1900 and 1945. And our specific objective are the following: to visualize the translated book market, to find still unidentified originals of translations, and to reconstruct network of cultural mediators. It is important to say, of course, we haven't finished the work. We are working now with 2 libraries, national libraries from Spain and Catalonia, but then the idea is to continue with other libraries from Latin America, Mexico, Argentina, and Colombia ones. And concerning the methodology, the first step of our research is really quantitative approach. We work with databases and using machine learning tools. At first we extract the data from catalogs. And in that point, we have to recognize that extracting data from catalogs is really difficult because we don't have a common criteria. We have this Mark 21 format that sets a kind of standard to exchange information between libraries, but it's not the only one. So the problem is how to compare data sets between different libraries. And also for our research period, that is the first half of the 20th century, we don't have this kind of registry, the International Standard Book Number. We don't have this, which was adopted internationally in 1970s. So we work only with Mark 21 format. So after the automatic extraction of the catalog of the Spanish library, we clean the data. And I have to say that the cleaning data it's a really hard process, and it takes a lot of time. But now it's useful to show you our methodological challenges, and maybe you can apply this information with other data sets or other archives. Well, here, the first point, the more important a publication is, the less consistent data we have. So, for instance, I take Don Quixote also. It's the Spanish novel. No? We have around 4,500 entries for the same title, as you see in the screenshot of the catalog of the Spanish library. And the problem is how to recognize that all these entries belong to the same book. So we have El ingenioso caballero Don Quijote de la Mancha, Las aventuras del Quijote, El Quijote, and so on. In this case, we work with different tools in order to measure the degree of proximity between different entries around, for example, in this case, the name Quixote. And to do so, we use automatic tools. Elasticsearch is the kind of robot to work with the catalog. But we use different systems as regular expression, Levenstein distance, phonetic similarities, and engrams. And I will not explain that here, but note that there are different ways to measure the proximity between 2 words in this case. Concerning another point, concerning the Spanish publishers, we have also a problem here, and we clean the names of the publishing houses in order to have only one single name. For instance, a well-known publisher, Compañía Iberoamericana de Publicaciones, has different names, such as the initials CIAP, Compañía Iberoamericana de Publicaciones, or Iberoamericana only, or also different endings here, such as son, brother, compañía also, bookseller, studio, and so on. Well, the following problem is that we have uncertain dates in the catalogs, and it's really common, this. In this figure, we can find regular peaks here at the beginning of each decade, given the inaccuracy of date registers. And this is a problem because it's not this year, but the decade, and we have to find at what time this book appears. And finally, the last problem is really important for us, is how to establish if a book is a translation or not. Generally, the category translation is not explicit, but you can deduce from different columns here the target languages and the source languages, and maybe you can find if a book is or not a translation. Here is the case of Flaubert. So once we have cleaned our database, selecting only these files, we can say that we have some quantitative information. So we have more than 200,000 books, and only 39,000 of them are literature. And now, finally, we can 1 minute, okay. Find quantitative queries in order to explore the catalog. Well, so for instance, here we have, I show you some examples. In this slide, you can confirm that during the Spanish Civil War, the literary production fell. Here in this other slide is the ranking of the top 10 literary authors. And when Cervantes, Torres are well known, but what happened with El Caballero Audaz? It was a pseudonym, of course, it's the pseudonym of José María Carretero Novillo, a journalist, really popular during the Franco's regime and forgotten afterwards. And here, other kind of visualization. Here, for instance, the Spanish-speaking publishing market. And it's weird, it's really curious that Mexico appears in gray after Valencia. And at the time, it was a really important market. So this slide shows us that we have to test the information and to check, because it's not so sure that it's okay, this Mexico in this position. And finally, here, this map shows the publishing market, Hispanic publishing market in Spain and also in Latin America, but also in red, you can see different countries that publish also a Spanish book. And for instance, here in Paris, we have Spanish translation published in Paris by Garnier Hermanos, for example, and voilà, La Linda Moza de Perth. Sorry, this not. So in order to conclude, we have shown you a lot of data here, but we are aware that we need to combine a quantitative approach, as you see, with a traditional literary study. This means with a qualitative analysis in order to produce new insights for literary and translation history. In terms of social change, we are convinced that the project contributes by giving value to the Hispanic patrimony, of course, but at the same time, it helps to reduce the digital divide in terms of access and production of digital content. And we think this is important to remember here. Technology has certainly changed the way we consume and produce knowledge, but there are still important inequalities in other spaces outside Western and Central Europe. In our ERC project, we are working on trying to narrow this gap in the cultural field and offer new and reliable data and open access to a vast amount of material. To finish, I say at the very beginning of my speech that this image was not a new planet or even our world, but what about the universe? As the Argentinian writer Jorge Luis Borges wrote, and I quote to end in my presentation, el universo, que otros llaman la biblioteca, se compone de un número indefinido y tal vez infinito de galerías hexagonales. Acabo de escribir infinito, no interpolado ese adjetivo por una costumbre retórica. Digo que no es ilógico pensar que el mundo es infinito. So for Borges, and also for our team, the library is the universe, and as we know, our research could be infinite. So this is all, and thank you so much.